The room was already heavy with tension before a single word was spoken. The kind of silence that feels like it's been sitting there long before any camera switched on. Social media was still buzzing over Tamar's latest emotional revelation, with clips replaying nonstop across timelines, but no one expected the energy online to spiral this fast, or this violently. Because within hours of Tamar allegedly hinting that she had once been pregnant by Mendeecees, a new storm rolled in, louder, sharper, and way more explosive than anything fans had braced for. Rumors claim that when this reached Yandy, she didn't just react, she snapped. According to several circulating reports, sources close to the situation insist that Yandy's anger was instant and uncontrollable. The moment she heard Tamar's alleged pregnancy claim, voices rose, emotions collided, and the air in the room wherever this confrontation supposedly took place shifted into something electric. Fans online say Yandy confronted Tamar with a fury that even longtime viewers of the show weren't ready for. Some claim they heard yelling, others swear they saw Tamar step back. And then came the part that sent shockwaves across every platform. The allegation that Yandy may have slapped Tamar during the heated exchange. Nothing has been confirmed. No one has released official statements. But the internet doesn't wait for facts, it builds its own fire. And right now, flames are everywhere. Comments are flooding with theories. Some believe Tamar crossed a boundary by bringing Mendeecees into the narrative. Others insist Yandy is protecting her marriage at all costs. A few say the entire situation feels deeper, older, and more personal than anyone realized. But the biggest question hanging over everything is this. Tamar truly said she had been pregnant by Mendeecees. What else is she holding back? And did Yandy's alleged slap mark the beginning of a much bigger war? Stay right where you are, because this story is about to twist in ways nobody saw coming. The storm didn't begin when the rumor spread. It began the moment people realized this wasn't just another messy headline. Something about the way the words slipped out, the way they landed, the way silence followed them, told everyone this situation was heavier than the usual reality TV chaos. When Tamar allegedly hinted that she had once been pregnant by Mendeecees, the internet didn't just react, it cracked open. Fans froze mid-scroll, blogs erupted, and the entire conversation shifted in a single breath. One unexpected claim had turned old tensions into wildfire. Suddenly, the spotlight wasn't only on Tamar. It swung sharply toward Yandy, and the air around her name felt charged. People weren't whispering anymore. They were dissecting every expression, every reaction, every possibility. They said Yandy didn't take the claim lightly. They said she didn't see it as random gossip or a careless slip. According to whispers online, she took it as a direct blow, aimed straight at her home, her marriage, and her trust. Whether true or exaggerated, the emotion people described around her name wasn't confusion, which heat. Some insiders suggested she was blindsided. Others said she wasn't surprised at all, that she had sensed something brewing long before the internet caught on. But the only consistent detail across every version was this. When the alleged claim reached her ears, the room shifted. Kind of shift where a conversation stopped mid-sentence, where eyes widen without anyone realizing, where a single pause feels louder than shouting. They said she didn't explode instantly. She absorbed it first. The words settled in her chest, and then something inside her snapped into place. Hurt first, anger next. Betrayal weaving right through the center. Because for a long time she believed she had kept her circle tight, her boundaries firm, and her peace protected. And suddenly, here was a claim that threatened all of that in one stroke. People close to the moment claimed the conversation between Yandy and Tamar was intense from the first second. Neither woman is known for holding back. Both speak with conviction, emotion, and the kind of honesty that can cut when things get tense. Allegedly, Yandy questioned everything: the timing, the intention, the meaning behind the words. She wanted answers, clarity, something real to stand on. Tamar, they said, seemed overwhelmed, like she didn't expect the situation to escalate the way it did. Voices rose, tones sharpened, and the space between them felt smaller and heavier by the minute. The internet doesn't know what was actually said. No recordings leaked. No official statements were dropped. But the stories that spiraled out painted a picture of two women standing in the middle of a storm neither of them had planned for. Some said Tamar tried to explain herself, insisting it wasn't meant to be taken literally. Others believed she froze, unsure how to reframe her own words now that they had detonated online. And then there were those who swore Yandy's reaction wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak. Through all this, one rumor rose above the rest, that Yandy allegedly slapped Tamar during the confrontation. Nobody knows if it happened. Nobody knows what actually went down behind those closed doors. But the rumor rippled so fast through social media that people barely had time to question it. They shared it, reacted to it, broke it down frame by frame in their minds as if they had seen it themselves. Some denied it immediately, saying Yandy isn't the type. Others insisted emotions were too high for the moment to stay calm. The truth got buried beneath the noise, but the noise itself became the story. Tamar's silence didn't help. She didn't deny the rumor. She didn't confirm it either. And silence, when a scandal is burning, becomes its own kind of confession. Some fans claim she stayed quiet because the story wasn't real. Others argued she didn't speak because the story was too real. And then there were those who believed she was simply tired of fighting narratives that kept twisting. Out of her control, the reaction online took on a life of its own. Threads piled up with theories. People pulled up old clips of Tamar and Mendeecees interacting, searching for clues they had missed. Commenters dissected timelines, analyzing every detail like detectives. Meanwhile, others focused on Yandy replaying past interviews and appearances, trying to understand how deeply this rumor might have pierced through her composure. What made this moment even more intense was the emotional history beneath the surface. These weren't strangers caught in a random scandal. These were people whose lives, friendships, and connections had overlapped for years. So when Tamar's alleged confession surfaced, it didn't fall onto neutral ground. It landed on relationships, already carrying unspoken tension. People who saw the confrontation described the atmosphere as electric. They said every word felt weighted, every pause felt dangerous. The energy was so thick that even those nearby felt their nerves tighten. This wasn't a playful argument or a petty misunderstanding. This was something that had roots, something that shook everyone involved. And while most fans watched from the outside, guessing and reacting, there were a few who claimed to have insight into the private fallout. They said Tamar looked shaken. Afterward, not because of embarrassment, but because she realized how her words had spiraled. They said Yandy walked away with a storm behind her eyes, carrying more emotion than even her closest friends had seen in years. None of it was confirmed. None of it was clear. But that's what made the story even louder, because uncertainty is fuel. And this story had more than enough sparks to burn through social media for days. The way fans framed it, Tamar's alleged confession wasn't just a slip. It was a match. Too old dry wood. It revived past rumors, resurfaced unresolved tension, and turned private discomfort into public spectacle. The entire situation transformed into a labyrinth of interpretations, each twist darker and more dramatic than the last. And somewhere between the claims, the silence, and the alleged confrontation, one thing became painfully obvious. Whatever happened between them had changed something forever. And the fallout was only just beginning. The hours that followed felt like an emotional aftershock spreading across every corner of social media. One post turned into hundreds, and hundreds turned into a wave that swallowed timelines whole. People weren't just reacting to the rumor anymore. They were aligning themselves with interpretations, reading into every gesture Tamar made in her, Recent appearances, every glance Yandy gave on camera, every moment where Mendeecees' name surfaced, even accidentally. It was the kind of digital frenzy that doesn't calm down on its own. It builds, mutates, grows into something unrecognizable. Some viewers insisted Tamar hadn't meant the pregnancy claim literally. They said she seemed overwhelmed, that her emotions might have pushed her into speaking loosely without fully thinking through the implications. Others argued she said it with intention, like someone who had been holding a heavy truth for far too long. Then there were the fans who believed she may have been hinting at something metaphorical, not physical. But once the allegation hit the internet, interpretation didn't matter anymore. Impact did, and the impact was violent. The alleged confrontation between Tamar and Yandy quickly became the centerpiece of the unfolding chaos. People close to the situation described an atmosphere thick enough to make breathing feel difficult. It wasn't just anger or frustration. It was something deeper, something that had been waiting beneath the surface of their interactions for years, finally breaking open. Some described Yandy's tone as shaking with betrayal. Others said she sounded like a mother protecting her home, her name, her dignity. Tamar, according to whispers, was torn between defending herself and trying to calm the explosion her words had set off. Voices rose, tension swelled. And somewhere inside that storm, the alleged SLAP rumor was born. Nobody could confirm it, but the rumor made its way across every platform, moving faster than any explanation or clarification ever could. Some claimed they heard it. Others claimed they saw Tamar touch her face like she was startled. But again, no footage appeared, no statements surfaced. The entire story lived in the space between shock and speculation, and that space was enough. To fuel the frenzy, people who knew Yandy personally jumped online to defend her, saying she wasn't the type to get physical. That she handled conflict with words, not hands. Supporters of Tamar responded just as fiercely, insisting she would never provoke someone to that point. But those arguments only ignited more theories. The louder people tried to protect their favorite eight, the louder the uncertainties grew. And then the conversation shifted again when a new angle began circulating. The idea that Tamar's alleged confession wasn't an attack on Yandy, but a cry for something else entirely. Some claimed Tamar had been under pressure. Emotional strain, unresolved tension from past relationships and friendships. Others believed she might have spoken out of confusion, not malice. A few even suggested that her words came from a place of vulnerability rather than accusation. But none of those explanations softened the blow for Yandy, because, whether true or false, the claim touched the center of her life. And one thing about Yandy has always been clear. She protects her family with a force that feels unshakable. So if she truly snapped, as the rumors said, it wasn't because of drama for entertainment. It was because the claim hit where she draws the line. The emotional fallout spread quickly within their shared circles. Some friends tried to mediate, urging calm, encouraging both women to take a step back and reflect. Others avoided the situation, entirely unwilling to get caught between two emotional storms. And then there were the ones who privately admitted that they saw this coming, that the tension, the subtle energy, the old hints and misunderstandings had been waiting for the right trigger. And Tamar's alleged claim had been exactly that. People described the hours after the confrontation as quiet but dense. Tamar, they said, looked drained, as if the weight of her words had finally settled on her shoulders. Yandy, according to whispers, left with a sharp, controlled silence. The kind of silence that isn't empty, it's full. Full of disappointment, frustration, confusion, and a feeling that something sacred had been crossed. Mendeecees' name circulating in the middle only made the situation harder to untangle. Fans began pulling up old clips, analyzing body language between him and Tamar in moments most people had forgotten. Others searched for interviews where either woman mentioned him even lightly. People were trying to piece together a puzzle that had no confirmed edges, no clear picture, and the harder they tried, the messier the theories became. The idea that Tamar's claim was connected to a deeper personal history became one of the biggest threads online. Supporters insisted she must have had a reason. Critics argued she should have known the consequences before speaking. And leaning between those two poles were the fans who felt nothing but sadness that two powerful women, with long histories of public struggle and private battles, were now being torn apart in front of millions. Yet through all this noise, neither woman released a statement. That silence amplified the drama more than words ever could. It made people wonder if there was more to the story. If the alleged confrontation held details no one dared to speak publicly. If the emotional tension had roots in an older wound, older conversations, older misunderstandings that had never been resolved. And while some fans begged for clarity, others didn't want it. For them, the speculation was the fuel, kept the story alive, kept the drama intense, kept the situation emotionally charged. But beneath the surface, there was something strange happening. The more people reacted, the clearer it became that this wasn't just about the alleged pregnancy claim or the rumored slap. It was about everything that had been simmering anonymously between the three names at the center of this situation: Tamar, Yandy, and Mendeecees. Emotions, loyalties, dignity, trust, everything felt tangled now. And the night that started as a whisper was quickly becoming the loudest conversation online. As the day ended, fans were left asking the same question: if this is only the beginning of a fallout, what happens when the deeper truths start spilling out next? As the noise online grew louder, the people closest to the situation began feeling the ripple effects in ways the public couldn't see. The tension wasn't contained to comments or reaction videos anymore. It was moving through private group chats, behind the scenes conversations, and circles of friends who didn't know what to believe. Everyone felt like they were walking on unsettled ground, unsure which version of the story held the most truth, unsure which emotion belonged to which person. Some said Tamar spent the aftermath replaying everything in her mind, trying to understand how one moment spiraled into something this enormous. They described her as reflective, almost quiet, like someone trying to make sense of a storm she accidentally created. Others said she felt misunderstood, that her words had been twisted into something she never intended. And then there were the whispers claiming she was simply stunned. Stunned by Yandy's emotional intensity, stunned by the speed of the rumors, stunned that the situation escalated in a way she hadn't predicted. On the other side, the people close to Yandy described a completely different energy. They said she was focused, almost too calm, like someone whose emotions had reached a point beyond shouting or arguing. She wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. She was processing. She was protecting. Was drawing lines around her dignity and her home. And the alleged claim about Mendeecees shook the foundation of everything she had worked to keep steady. The idea that Tamar had said something so explosive, even if accidentally, even if emotionally, didn't sit lightly with her. And hearing people speculate about her marriage only deepened the sting. Some friends said she didn't understand why Tamar hadn't immediately clarified the meaning behind her words. Why she didn't shut the door before everyone else pushed it open. That disappointment, some claimed, hurt more than the rumor itself. Within hours, reaction videos popped up dissecting every possible angle. Dramatic music, slow-motion frames, speculation delivered with the confidence of people who knew nothing but believed everything. One creator insisted the entire situation was rooted in older, unresolved issues. Another claimed Tamar's emotional vulnerability had finally cracked open a secret she had been holding for years. A third argued that Yandy was reacting to a long history of tension the public never saw. But none of these theories had proof. They were built on interpretation, tone, and the silence of the people involved. The kind of silence that creates shadows long enough for anything to hide beneath. Meanwhile, Mendeecees became a central topic without saying a single word. People kept asking how he was reacting, what he thought, whether he had spoken to either woman. Some fans wondered if he was blindsided by the alleged claim. Others believed he already knew about it and the public was just catching up. A few insisted he would eventually break his silence, though no sign of that ever came. The deeper the internet dug, the uglier some corners became. People pulled up old interviews trying to twist unrelated comments into hints. They replayed clips of Yandy and Tamar interacting in happier times, comparing body language as if searching for cracks in the foundation. They searched for anything that could be interpreted as foreshadowing, because when a scandal this big explodes, everyone wants to believe they noticed the tension long before it surfaced. But in reality, no one knew what really happened. One detail that kept returning in fan conversations was how quickly the alleged confrontation escalated. Some claimed the moment Yandy heard the rumor, she confronted Tamar with the kind of intensity that builds when someone feels deeply betrayed. Others insisted the confrontation was less explosive than described, that the alleged slap was nothing more than online exaggeration. But the truth remained buried beneath two layers of uncertainty. What happened during the claim itself and what happened during the confrontation that followed. Each person who chimed in seemed to choose a side based on emotion rather than evidence. Supporters of Tamar insisted she wouldn't intentionally hurt another woman, especially someone whose life had already been through so much public scrutiny. Supporters of Yandy argued that any wife, any mother, any partner would feel deeply shaken by a rumor that touched the heart of her household. This wasn't just gossip. It touched the soul of relationships. Still, Tamar's silence remained one of the biggest talking points. Fans replayed her recent clips, searching for signs of regret or defensiveness. Some insisted she looked tired, like someone carrying too much weight. Others said she seemed unfazed, almost indifferent, which only added more fuel to the confusion. Meanwhile, Yandy's refusal to address the rumor directly created its own wave of mystery. Some admired her restraint. Others wondered if she was choosing silence because speaking would make the situation even worse. The truth sat somewhere between all these interpretations, invisible to everyone except the people living inside the storm. What made things even more complicated was how the rumor reshaped the way fans viewed the relationships between all three. Some believed Tamar never intended to harm anyone and simply allowed her emotions to spill further than they should have. Others believed the entire situation exposed deeper cracks that had been hiding beneath polite smiles and event appearances for years. And as social media continued to spin this narrative into something massive, the pressure on all three individuals grew heavier. Whispers spread that the confrontation, whether calm, heated, or physical, left both Tamar and Yandy emotionally shaken. Some said Tamar left in tears, as though she realized the ripple her words had created. Others said Yandy walked away looking more hurt than angry, like someone who had been blindsided by a truth she didn't see coming. But through all the speculation, one question kept rising higher than the rest. Why did Tamar say it? Was it a moment of emotional exhaustion, vulnerability, confusion? Or was it something deeper? Something she had been holding on to quietly? No one knew. And that uncertainty became the oxygen that kept this story burning. As night fell, fans waited for someone, anyone, to break the silence with clarity. A clarification, a denial, a statement, an explanation, but none came. Instead, the quiet surrounding the three names at the center of the storm grew louder, more tense, more unsettling. The longer they stayed silent, the more people assumed there was something bigger beneath the surface. And as the story continued to spiral, theories began taking new shapes, theories that would push the entire situation into territory even more emotional, more tangled, and far more dramatic than anyone expected by the next morning. The story had grown into something far larger than anyone expected. It wasn't just a rumor anymore. It was an ecosystem of interpretations, reactions, commentary videos, fan edits. and long threads where strangers argued like they had lived inside the private moments themselves. Every timeline felt like a courtroom, every comment a theory, every silence a confession waiting to happen. And in the middle of all this noise, the emotional distance between Tamar and Yandy continued to widen, even without a single word spoken publicly. That silence didn't calm anything. It sharpened the tension. The absence of clarity left room for the wildest possibilities to stretch into the center of the narrative. Shaping a story that none of them were actively telling, some insider suggested. Tamar had withdrawn from the conversation deliberately, trying to gather herself before saying anything else. They said she felt overwhelmed, shaken, and uncomfortable with how quickly the situation spiraled. A few claimed she hadn't understood the weight of her words until they echoed back at her through the internet, amplified and distorted. Others insisted Tamar stood by what she said, not as confirmation of the rumor, but as a reflection of emotional truth, something she felt in the moment. Something that had been sitting inside her for longer than she realized. And whether she meant it literally or metaphorically, she might have felt that speaking it was the only way to release the pressure she'd been carrying. But for Yandy, story was entirely different. Those close to her described her mood as reflective and protective, like someone replaying events in her mind with a tight jaw and a steady heartbeat. They said she wasn't only processing the rumor, she was processing the betrayal she felt behind it. It's the idea that a claim this sharp, even if unintentional, had been spoken so casually shook her deeply. And it wasn't about the internet's reaction. It was about what the claim symbolized in her personal life. Because for Yandy, this wasn't a headline. It was her home, her trust, her peace. The rumored confrontation became the centerpiece of fan theories again as more whispers emerged. People claimed Tamar had tried to explain herself in the moment, trying to calm the energy before it spiraled. Others insisted Yandy couldn't hear any explanation, not when the words themselves had already cut too deep. Supporters of both women defended them fiercely, each convinced their favorite had been misunderstood. And then came the most dramatic development. People began speculating that the alleged slap, whether it happened or not, wasn't about anger alone. It was about shock, heartbreak, disbelief, and the sudden feeling that the ground beneath her had shifted. No one could confirm if the slap ever happened. But the rumor itself became a symbol of how explosive the moment must have felt. Whether physical or emotional, something had snapped between the two women. And the tension left a mark. The internet amplified everything. Some fans said Tamar looked emotionally drained in her next appearance, as if carrying a weight she didn't know how to put down. Others insisted she looked defensive, trying to stay strong amid the storm. Meanwhile, people claimed Yandy's energy had turned into cold disappointment. The kind that doesn't scream, it closes doors quietly. Theories grew even more tangled. When fans pulled up old clips of the two women interacting, smiles, jokes, warm moments, all now viewed with suspicion, as if everyone had missed an invisible crack that had been there all along. Every old interview became evidence. Old disagreement became foreshadowing. Every awkward body language moment became a sign people claimed they had finally interpreted correctly. The emotional stakes rose with every new post. Some people believed the entire situation exposed fragility in friendships shaped under public pressure. Others said this was the kind of storm that only happens when unresolved history finally catches up. A few insisted that both women were victims of a rumor that spun too fast for either to stop. But as the conversation kept evolving, one thing became clearer. This wasn't just about the alleged pregnancy claim. It wasn't just about Mendeecees. It wasn't just about Yandy or Tamar. It was about trust. Trust shaken. Trust questioned. Trust broken. And once trust fractures, even between two strong, outspoken women who have weathered countless storms rebuilding, it becomes far more complicated. Inside their circles, people described long pauses, unread messages, distance that felt too wide to bridge. They said everyone involved was choosing their words carefully, avoiding assumptions and waiting for the right moment to address what needed to be said. No one wanted to add fuel to a fire already burning hot. No one wanted to make things worse. Still, the emotional debris left behind was impossible to ignore. Some friends of Tamar argued she never intended harm. They claimed she was vulnerable, tired, overwhelmed by past tension she never processed properly. Others in Yandy's circle insisted intention didn't matter. Impact did. And the impact had landed directly on her heart. The internet, meanwhile, continued shaping its narrative without pause. People demanded statements. Others begged them not to speak until they were ready. Some joked, some speculated, some dragged the story into deeper, darker interpretations that neither woman deserved. And amid all of that, a strange shift emerged. Fans began wondering whether the confrontation, rumored or exaggerated, had revealed truths neither woman wanted to face. Truths about boundaries, unspoken issues, emotional wounds, and the fragile nature of relationships built under the bright, unforgiving lights of public attention. This story wasn't just messy. It was human. And that humanity is what kept people watching refreshing timelines, waiting for the next subtle shift in energy. As days passed, the frenzy refused to fade. Smaller creators turned the situation into multi-part breakdowns. Larger platforms turned it into headlines. Fans created timelines, emotional maps, and dramatic theories. Everywhere the story went, people added their own interpretations, creating a version of events so layered that it became impossible to untangle truth from perception. But through all of this noise, one question grew louder, one the audience couldn't stop asking. Could Tamar and Yandy ever recover from this? Because even if the alleged slap was nothing more than a rumor, even if the pregnancy claim was misunderstood or taken out of context, the emotional residue left behind had already reshaped the terrain of their relationship. And once the terrain changes, nothing returns to what it was before. The silence from both women remained unbroken. And that silence became the final twist. It made people anxious. It made them curious. It made them question everything again. Because silence, when two powerful voices suddenly choose it, creates a tension far stronger than any statement could. As people waited, a strange calm settled over the story. Not because things resolved, but because a new question settled into the center of the narrative. Was this the climax? Or only the midpoint of something even deeper, even deeper? So now that the dust has settled just enough for everyone to catch their breath, the story leaves us standing at a crossroads with more questions than answers. You've heard every twist, every whispered rumor, every emotional crack that pushed this drama from private tension into a full-blown storm the entire internet watched unfold. But the truth behind these moments, that still lives between the people involved, behind closed doors. In conversations none of us were there to witness, and that's why your voice matters here. Do you think Tamar's claim was misunderstood, or did she reveal something she wasn't ready to fully explain? Do you believe Yandy reacted out of shock, hurt, or pure frustration at a story that felt too personal to be tossed into the public like that? And what about Mendeecees, whose name sits at the center of all these theories, even though he hasn't spoken a single word? Is he the missing piece that would make everything finally make sense? Or is this one of those situations where silence creates its own truth? Tell me what you think really happened. Was this all blown out of proportion by fans and blogs? Or was the tension already there, waiting for one spark to ignite it? Do you believe the alleged confrontation happened? Or is that just the internet adding gasoline to a fire nobody asked for? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over. Every perspective adds a new layer, a new angle, a new piece of the puzzle. And if there's one thing we've learned from watching this unfold, it's that the truth in reality TV drama isn't always about what's said. Sometimes it's hidden in the pauses, the reactions, the emotions people can't disguise. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Because with stakes this high and emotions this raw, the next update could change everything.